Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel, and we're excited to be on the road this week, going from Melbourne to Benalla, up to Mount Buffalo, then finally onto Temora in New South Wales for an air show at their aviation museum.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But before we dive into the trip, we wanted to talk to you briefly about our recent camera upgrades. Now, we've both made some significant upgrades to our gear that we're obviously pretty excited about. I mean, any time that you buy more gear that you most definitely need is always a time to celebrate, isn't it?
Absolutely. So we thought we'd take this road trip as an opportunity to sort of really play with our new toys. They're not toys, but toys.
Well, toys, yeah. So I've recently upgraded to the Canon R5 Mk II while still keeping my original R5 in the kit. Now, the R5 was already an incredible camera with its 45 megapixel sensor, but the Mk II doesn't add any resolution, but it does bring some serious improvements that will make a difference, or should make a difference, in my commercial work. The new back illuminated stack sensor gives me significantly faster readout speeds, which means about 40% less rolling shutter when shooting moving subjects. Now, for someone like me who shoots stills and video in often challenging and grim commercial and industrial environments with lots of movement and bad lighting, I mean, that's huge.
It really is, yeah.
What really sold me though was the full-sized HDMI port that's replacing the tiny micro HDMI on the original R5, which means I can now reliably output to my Atmos Ninja recorder monitor, which is, for my video work, is fantastic. In the past, I have broken a few micro HDMI cables simply by slightly knocking them while they were in the R5's input port. I had one recently where I was at a very remote site in South Australia, just started the shoot, put the micro HDMI cable in, snap, didn't work, or it bent it, didn't work. And I was very angry, I have to say. It was not a good day. Anyway, what's your new purchase?
Well, I've traded my original Canon R6 in for the R6 Mk II after a few years of working with the original.
Yep.
I was looking for something that could handle landscapes and everyday images that the R6 could do well, but with the improved autofocus and burst rate for fast action photography I love, I thought this was a must. And plus the jump from 20 to 24 megapixels mightn't sound a lot, but it just gives me that extra flexibility when cropping, especially with wildlife shots.
Yeah.
But really the autofocus really sold me, about 80% faster than the old R6, which is a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
Improved eye tracking and subject detection too.
Yeah, okay. So tell everyone about the crazy burst speed.
Well, in electronic shutter mode, 40 frames per second.
40 frames. Yeah, okay, which is double what the original R6.
It was, yeah, and for birds and aviation photography, that's really crucial for me, and made that sort of upgrade for going to places like Temora to play with toys really justifiable.
Absolutely. I mean, how else would you need to be able to capture every rivet on every aircraft from every angle.
Must be done.
Yeah, to have millions of files that we'll never look at again. Yeah, yeah.
I also recognise that the battery life is much better on the R6 Mk II, and I'm told that even though I don't do a lot of video shooting, the overheating issues from that previous model has now been fixed, so you can shoot for longer periods of time without interruption. So again, I don't shoot much video, but it's nice to know that it's there. Yeah,
that's why I went to the Atmos, so I could shoot video without overheating. Now, both cameras have some impressive AI-powered features as well. The R5 Mk II has the eye control autofocus that once calibrated to my eye basically focuses where I look. It sounds like science fiction, but it actually does work amazingly well. I have calibrated it and tested it. A couple of weeks ago I was shooting the Australian Prime Minister with a camera. He was speaking at an event, it was late at night, he was tired, I was tired, but the eye control autofocus was just fantastic. I was using the RF70-200Z on the R5 Mk II, and the AF performed brilliantly. It never let me down once. I was simultaneously shooting with the original R5 with the RF24-105, the F4 version, and I know they're different lenses, I get that, but I could see and feel difference in the AF performance.
Really? It's interesting, because when I see that the R6 Mk II has the new action priority autofocus modes that can recognise specific movements and adjust focus accordingly, unbelievably impressive just how far this technology has come.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? So I suppose that's the technical stuff out of the way. We didn't want the trip to be all about megapixels. I mean, for the viewer, it's not particularly interesting if you're just talking camera specifications, because that information is all over the internet and YouTube, and ultimately...
Yeah, it's about the images that we're going to create over the next 4 days.
Or we hope to create.
Well, we'll be positive. We'll be testing both the cameras out, get more of a feel for them in our hands while shooting landscapes, some birds in flight hopefully behind us, and whatever's flying at the Aviation Museum on the weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited to share our real-world experiences with these cameras, not through test charts because and technical reviews. Because I mean, personally, I don't know about you, but I don't have any test charts framed and hung on my wall at home. So
I've got no room with puffins hanging everywhere.
No, that's right. That's right. So I am aware that coming from the R6, the original, you weren't in love with that camera as much as I was, were you?
No, and I can't really put a technical reason on it. I think it's more emotional, but already just playing with this, setting it up, going through all the setup guides, this feels more at home in my hand. Perhaps it's ergonomics, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to making this my everyday camera. I think that's
actually a really valid point that is often overlooked. I mean, you can talk about megapixels and the technical capabilities of the camera, but if the camera doesn't feel right in your hands, if you're not going to pick it up every time you go out to take a picture, then it really is about the feel of it, isn't it? The ergonomics, the feel, and how you feel working with it. I know that it's nice working with nice gear.
Yeah. I mean, I've had great success over the years with my 5D Mark III, 5D SR, 5D4, because I feel they don't let you down, and I couldn't quite come to grips with the R6, but I'm quite confident in making the R6 II as welcome in my hand, and keen to see the output that we're going to produce. So yeah, really want to get to know the camera. Shall we go shoot?
Well, we're at the Winton wetlands near Benalla, and we're hoping to find some birds here, so let's go and see what we can find.
Excellent. Looks an interesting pose, Michael.
And we're squatting for one of two reasons. These little marsh warblers are really hard to catch, aren't they?
They certainly
dragonfly.
Yeah. What are you using at the moment?
I've got the 1 to 500mm, but I've got the 1.4 teleconverter on, so it's giving me a 700mm reach. It doesn't seem to, I don't seem to lose the autofocus capabilities at all, which is nice. And I have on the test I did at home, I didn't lose any image quality either. So
excellent.
See what we can find today. I don't know about you, but I'm struggling to find any birds.
Yes, middle of the day they have gone for a sleep, haven't they? Good morning and welcome back. This is the second day of our 4-day jaunt around Victoria, New South Wales, and just to give you a quick recap of how we progressed yesterday with the new cameras.
Did we progress?
Definitely, yeah, because I have been awarded shot of the day, so
that's true.
We have
that's
to say
true.
that.
That's true. We're back at the Winton wetlands. We're hoping to photograph some birds, potentially see what they've got here this morning, because we didn't get much luck yesterday. What did you learn yesterday about your camera?
That it's as good as all the specs say in terms of autofocus. You do need to experiment with the various different modes. Using the single point focus for the type of photography we're doing yesterday probably wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
I also personally got much better results later in the day using the 800 as opposed to the 100 to 400 with an extender. The 800 is in fact a lens I had up for sale only a few months ago.
Yeah, it was on the chopping block, wasn't it?
It was going to go. Yeah. But I think paired with this particular camera in the conditions that we can now shoot with the different focusing modes, very happy to keep it, yeah.
Yeah. So what I learned, I think, was that it's a fantastic machine, the R5 Mk II. The autofocus is improved. I really enjoyed shooting with it. The 30 frames per second has been fantastic. What else?
Well, I think we can also advance to what we've been doing this morning, which is we got up at dawn, came out to the same place that we were yesterday, and were surrounded by just thousands of swallows, which we couldn't capture between us. But again, using that 40 frames per second on the R6 Mark II, we did end up getting a few in frame, and you've got some cracking shots.
I think so, yeah. I'm using the 100 to 500 with a 1.4 teleconverter. I'm not a sports or action photographer as such, but we just tried to photograph the swallows as they were feeding in the lake, if you like, taking a drink from the lake. Probably the hardest subjects when you're not used to it that you could try and tackle first off. So, but it did put the camera through its paces. I tried a number of different focusing scenarios. I know that there are plenty of bird photographers out there who say you should just use the single point lock. Well, that just wouldn't have worked with the swallows. I did actually find that I used wide area autofocus case 3 when shooting, and I did have some success with the swallows so far. Well, so it would seem. I was shooting at a very high shutter speed to try and freeze the action, 3200th of a second. With the 1.4 teleconverter, I was anywhere between 400 and 700 millimeters while trying to capture these little darts really in flight, aren't they? There were instances where it would really struggle to lock on, but being fair, I mean, the swallows are extremely fast and extremely unpredictable, where they change direction, speed, quite incredible little birds, but making them very difficult to photograph.
And the light's not great this morning either, so the ISO is really pumped up high.
Yeah.
So the images that you've got, which are very good, will need a bit of processing.
They will, and a little bit of denoising, but I'm thinking possibly some artistic sort of black and white fields, because I was trying to capture them without anything in the background in terms of the reeds or the bank of the lake. One of the other things that I found about the camera that I hadn't known about before using it was that when I record a little bit of video, if I press playback to review the video on the back of the camera, it will only show me the videos that I've recorded throughout the couple of days that we've been here. It doesn't show me any of the stills, and that's quite handy because it means you can just switch quickly back through the videos that you shot. Similarly, if you shoot stills, it just shows you the stills and not the video. I don't know if it's a setting or if that's something I've inadvertently enabled, but it is, I think it's a very handy little feature. The other thing I noticed yesterday, going back to our shooting, is that when you download to the computer, you do have to check 2 folders. So when shooting with the R5, I would only download from one folder, which would include the images and the stills. With this, it puts the images in one folder and the stills in another. So just be aware of that if you're shooting and you suddenly realize you've formatted your card, but you haven't downloaded all of your images or all of your videos, then that could be troublesome.
Yeah, and I think one other thing I've really learned is to be prepared, and I've really wanted to capture a wedge-tailed eagle since I've been here, and since we're standing here, one's flown behind you, done loops and moved on, now out of range.
Done a little cabaret behind us, and yeah, that's always the way, isn't
always
it?
Be prepared.
Yeah, yeah, and don't be recording when you're trying to shoot birds, yeah. But it's certainly been a lot of fun. We're off for some sustenance now, I assume.
Needs to be done, and then we'll move on to Lake Buffalo, where there are some eagles nesting there over the water, and we hope to sort of put the cameras through some different tests, but still with the birds.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we made it to Lake Buffalo, and we've been surprised actually by how little water there is, because you were here 4 or 5 weeks ago and it was...
Yes, yeah, it was up to just behind where we're sitting now. Yeah. And we had eagles literally diving into the water.
Fishing behind us.
Gorging themselves on fish. Yes. And now, somewhere within the range of a 800mm with a 2 times extender, those eagles is now 8 or 9 suburbs away. But
the size of a gnat on your sensor.
They are here.
So the eagles fishing right in front of us that you promised me, not going to happen.
They have been fishing, we just Can't see it.
Yeah. Well, not short of having the Hubble telescope to help us. I've been using the 100 to 500 with the 1.4 again, and I did get some. I think the shots I'm most happy with are of the pelicans that I was
chasing into the water to get a good shot. Yes.
Yes, yeah. Well, I thought they may fly, but they didn't. They decided to paddle instead. I have found the autofocus again to be fantastic, handling fantastic. One thing I did notice with this is that whilst photographing the eagles, as you can see in the trees behind me, as soon as they're in the open sky, the tracking was no problem. As soon as they ducked into, there's a bit of ground clutter behind them, it did occasionally lose focus. I don't know whether that's what everyone else has found while shooting. I mean, if you have, please let us know. We'd be interested in see what your thoughts are and let us know in the comments below. But I found that it still was getting a very good hit rate, probably better than I would be getting with the R5 with which I'm recording this now. I would imagine with your 2x converter on the 800, you're going to run into problems with atmospheric conditions as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I did start off without the 2x on it. So I would actually think that when I was tracking the eagles with the trees behind them, I didn't lose contact with them. So
okay.
I think that the autofocus is very sticky on this, as it says in all its publicity. So very happy with that.
I think it's supposed to be. I mean, it is on this. I'm probably not using it right, to be honest. I've run through a number of different cases. If anyone has any advice, please feel free to let us know again in the comments below as to what your favourite autofocus case setting is on the R5 Mark II for birds in flight. I mean, I have no problems with it with everything else that I'm doing, but just particularly for birds in flight, that would be of interest to both of us, I'm sure.
I will go as far as to say that having switched later in our time here to put the 2x on, 2x with an 800 at the distances we're shooting, probably not that effective. So I think that's beyond this camera's and my particular skills capabilities. So I think the 800 on its own is where this camera's at.
Yeah. I've been taking some very simple landscape shots with my 16 to 35 f4. It's beautiful countryside here, as you can see from the footage we've got, but it's a very plain landscape shot, I think, but the camera performed well as ever. So I've been very happy with the handling of this. It's not too different to the R5, of course, but I'm just interested to hear, because I know we were just discussing yesterday that you weren't in love with the R6. Are you now in love with this one?
I'm well on my way.
Yeah.
As I think I said, I used the DSLRs whenever I had a landscape opportunity, so I would reach for definitely the 5DSR or even my Mark IV. But here today with Mount Buffalo behind us and a beautiful jigsaw puzzle scene, I've thrown the 15 to 35 RF on this, and I'm really confident that they're going to be spectacular shots. So I can't see why this isn't the all-rounder camera that it's purported to be in terms of fast-moving action as well as landscapes.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, of course, some people will sort of say, oh, well, only 24 megapixels, but that's plenty, isn't it, really? Let's face it. We were happy with the 5D Mark III.
Yeah. So. I find that I don't blow every single image of mine up to billboard size, incredibly. So for A3 prints or 30 by 20s around the house framed, 24 megapixels is more than enough. Agreed. I mean, this is nice when you're shooting birds at distance and you do need that crop factor to bring the birds in closer. But I mean, 24 megapixels is a very fine all-round sweet spot, particularly when you're raising the ISO, which we're of course doing in low light with shooting the birds. So you're getting less noise than I am with this, of course. Sure.
So.
And the 24 megapixels today, I think I'm right in saying it, compared to the 24 megapixels of 5-10 years ago on the DSLR, you've got a much better processor too. So the quality of images is just through the roof.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good.
So what's next?
Well, we probably should go up Mount Buffalo.
Yep.
So far, so good. The cameras are performing brilliantly. Glad the birds were here. Shame the water wasn't. But we're going to find some peregrine falcons now.
You promise? Okay, so we got to the top of the Horn, as it's called.
Mount Buffalo,
Mount Buffalo. And we came up here with the intent of photographing some falcons, peregrine falcons.
Well, you did. Just I may have made a slight promise.
Yeah.
I had seen them once.
So you promised me eagles at the lake and falcons at the top of the Horn.
Yeah, and I think preparation is very much a key in photography, but you cannot prepare for birds.
No shows. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we haven't had any. But thought, well, okay, we'll take this opportunity to do some landscape photography. Now I stuck with the 24-105 f4 on the R5 II, and I think, I mean, they're a bit boring, the shots, but it's nice to just capture the landscape while you're here, isn't it? So
there's a lot to see on the way up, not just at the top here, but the Lake Catani on the way up, as well as the area with the boulders.
Yeah, yeah.
So I used the 15-35 to really get some ultimate landscape shots, and the sun's quite nice this time of day. You're getting some longer shadows,
yes,
bit of contrast.
Yep.
So it's good to see how the lenses and the cameras work, having switched from sort of telescopic for what we've done for 2 days.
I'm thinking, because obviously the boulders around here and the dead trees, I'm thinking very much sort of black and white type work. That's what I'm thinking for my final shots. But yeah. Yeah,
the school holidays is also another very clever time to come as well.
Yes, we really planned that well, didn't we?
Yes.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, this is about having fun and just evaluating the cameras, and that's what we're here to do. We're sort of running this little league table between us where Mark got shot of the day yesterday, and so far we think that
We'll give it to you.
I might be at top of the table
based on
today.
what we see on camera.
On camera, yeah. We'll have to see what they're like, but I mean, you're facing relegation today. Yeah.
I'm very Spursy.
Yeah. Well, I think I've got a couple of good ones in the can from this morning, so we'll see what. And our shot of the day idea is, ultimately, is it something we'd be happy with enough to put on a print and put on the wall, isn't it? That's really what we're thinking.
Very much so, yeah. So tomorrow we'll probably be sticking to the landscape theme. We might do a little bit around bright, see what the autumn colours are doing, before we head up to New South Wales. And then Saturday, shot of the day will basically be an aviation type shot.
Air show type shots. So one of us is going to get relegated. No, it's more about having fun with it and just learning the gear, isn't it? Have you found anything else this afternoon since we've been up here? Anything else that you've
with gear? No, just don't rely on birds.
Yeah, okay.
That's my tip of the day.
Yeah, sounds good.
And don't come in school holidays.
Yes, that sounds true.
They're my tips of the day.
All right, let's keep going. So the first question I have is, now that we're back in Melbourne, are you in love with your R6 Mark II? How did you feel about it?
Absolutely in love with that camera. I think having 4 straight days to immerse yourself in all the settings, a variety of lenses, a variety of lighting conditions, etc. You get to know a new piece of gear real quickly, as opposed to just leaving it on the shelf and using it sporadically.
Here and there. Yeah. If I had to name one feature, for me, well, it'd be very difficult to name one feature. For me, I loved the 30 frames per second coupled with the amazing autofocus. So now to that end, what we decided to do is, rather than just talk about the camera, which we've already done in the video, but we'd like to talk about the prints that we made and our picture of the day competition. So I'm going to start, Mark, if I can, with you. Just first of all, on the first day in Winton Wetlands, if you could just take us through what you have that you'd like to have printed, to have on the wall. We'll show you as prints here, and obviously I'll flash them up on the screen so that you can see them from the computer as well. So what's your first one there? Well,
happy that this pelican flew over, because we say Winton Wetlands, there wasn't much water there at the time.
Winton Drylands, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. The birds were on annual leave that day. So thankfully, Polly the pelican flew over. Really happy with this particular composition. You can see how clearly he's a bit weather beaten in terms of missing feathers. But the feather detail, for a 24 megapixel camera, we've talked about megapixels before, it's more than enough to get a large size print for the wall. So
I won't put you on the spot with the settings. I will flash those on the screen,
sure.
But, as to what the shutter speed was and everything. But I believe that was with your 800mm lens. Was that?
Similarly, I think the same setup, the light wasn't so kind, but this raptor flew overhead, especially while we were recording. It was hanging around behind us and doing dancing,
smoking a cigar.
That's right. And then when we wanted to photograph it, it had gone. But again, the light through the feather detail. I like the composition. I liked the steely eye of his gaze, where he's certainly looking around with intent, etc. So very happy with that. Little relaxed chap here who was hopping around the reeds, and I know you've got some similar shots as well.
Yep.
I like the way that the the reeds or the sticks add some framing to the composition.
Yeah, everyone loves a bird on a stick shot, don't they? I mean, they're always good to get.
Yeah, and as you've kindly referred to, shot of the day on day one, it wasn't quite this one. It was a cockatoo with his wings further elevated.
I think that's what got you awarded shot of the day. It's a lovely one.
Yeah,
but that's a good shot.
Yeah, again, the light through the feathers, seeing each feather individually. He was actually in a group of 3 or 4, but I focused in on him for the print. Probably should have blown it up a little bit bigger, but again, the camera didn't let me down at all there.
No.
Yeah, we were really scratching around, or I was certainly scratching around. All the birds had gone, so we were left with our old friends, the magpies.
Yeah.
And I know that you've got a similar setup too. I do like the way that they're all looking in the one direction, with one chap at the back barking out orders, but they all seem to have, there's a story in this composition that they're just sitting there silently, probably looking at where all the other birds had gone to.
Yes, why aren't we there?
That's exactly right.
Particularly with these two photographers here. Yeah.
But the way the tree frames the image as well, there's a synergy in terms of how the image presents itself. I think that would look really good blown up on the wall.
I think so too. I do like your treatment of this. You've gone for a sort of a softer greys. And it's funny the way we think, because I went for the complete opposite. I went for a very hard look to mine, but this has got a very lovely soft feel to it, which I think would go nicely on the wall. It's
yeah.
So I went with, as I mentioned at the beginning, the 30 frames per second was a real winner.
Oh, that's when you had to be running to the water chasing the birds out.
That's right. So I got rid of all the birds before you could arrive. So no, this was at 30 frames a second. This was with the 1.4 extender on the 100 to 500, which is a lens I absolutely love. It's superb. Second one is actually similar to yours in that I've gone with the
3 times.
3 times.
You're telling a story, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I've blown all of the whites, the greys out. So I've got very few midtones. They're still in the birds, but I've blown a lot of that out because I wanted to really give it that sort of graphic feel here. So
very minimalist, almost silhouetted.
Yeah, almost silhouetted.
Never have 2 photographers been so happy to see magpies.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So then, I mean, that was all for my day 1, but then we're on to day 2. So day 2, as you will have noticed from the video, we ended up back at the Winton Wetlands in the same spot, around the same pond, one of the few areas of water there were, and we were surrounded by loads and loads of swallows, which are incredibly difficult to photograph.
And we were there just after dawn, very low light, so they were challenging conditions anyway.
High ISOs, needing very high shutter speeds to freeze the action.
Yeah. But so we probably gave it a good 90 minutes. I ended up with one that I'd say I'd be happy to have on the wall.
Yep. Yeah, that's a lovely shot.
And I do like the way that you're seeing the light through the wings. I like the composition. I like the way that the reflection is just a hint of what the bird is. And the bokeh, we've isolated the background.
Yep.
So don't normally like the subject to be in the middle of the image, but I think from that particular story, it works very well.
And I think this was slightly later in the morning. That's when all my successes came, because when we first got there, it was just too dark, wasn't it? Whereas this is slightly later on in the morning, so you can actually see the details and the colour in the bird.
Yeah. So yeah, the camera was fine. My technique certainly needs a lot of work, and perhaps, as I said, using an 800 with a 2x extender in very low light conditions, I wouldn't do that again. But you really do have some wonderful swallow images.
Well, I was lucky as well. I got the same sort of reflection shot. I mean, this is my first image that I was particularly happy with. There was another one which I've shown earlier, which was against the sort of golden light as well. But my technique here was to be slightly higher. I wasn't crouching down, so that I eliminated anything in the background. I wasn't seeing the reeds and the bank behind. And I really wanted to just get that really sort of graphic feel to it, that graphic capture. Bird and reflection. So that was my first take on it. Now, I've been singing the praises of the 30 frames a second already, but and as you'll have seen from the panoramic image earlier in the video, which was the 17 shots of the same bird shot at 30 frames a second, which I've stitched together onto one background. That's one I'm considering printing as well.
And you should, yes.
This is another one which I don't know why I'm showing you this. I'll show it to you on screen, but this gives you some indication. This is the same sort of thing where I have a bird diving into the lake to feed or to take a drink. And this is a cropped close-up of it. Now, I couldn't have done this, upside down, I couldn't have done this without the 30 frames a second that the camera offers and without that amazing autofocus. I don't believe that I would have been able to get this with the R5, but I was able to get it with the R5 Mark II's autofocus capabilities. And obviously, that high-speed drive, 30 frames a second, is fantastic. With a high shutter speed of around about 3200th a second, I've frozen individual water droplets as the fellas dived in there, and yeah, this is one that I'm definitely going to print.
As a panorama?
As a panorama. I need to find a wall here to put it on, but I need to find someone to print it for me.
It's a great story though, isn't it?
It is, it is. I mean, this is just the beginning of the story, and as he jumps out of the water as well, there's a lovely ending to it. So it's having that 30 frames a second burst, which was just a real gift in this instance. And I don't shoot sports, but I can imagine sports photographers would love it too. So that's my image of the day.
Shot of the day.
I think it was, yeah, for me particularly. It's very happy with that one. So that about wraps it up for our first video evaluating our new gear. From here, we headed on to Albury in New South Wales and then on to Temora for the air show. But I think that's for another video. So to be continued, please do make sure to like and subscribe if you find this video to have been useful to you, at least in the slightest bit entertaining. And please make sure to check in next week for the concluding video on our Albury challenge and our air show.
Air show, that's right.
See you in the next one.